Hi, my name is Michael Stavanik. I'm a medical student at UW School of Medicine and Public Health, and I'm here today conducting an interview with Katie, someone who is going to talk today about their journey through recovery, and I'm interviewing her on behalf of Wisconsin Voices for Recovery for our semester community health project. So I'll let Katie introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Katie. I am a recovery coach with Worko in Sheboygan. What else do I say?
Well, that's perfect. Well, thanks for being here, Katie. I guess tell us a little bit about what Worko stands for and what you guys all do.
So we are a recovery community organization here in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. We employ recovery coaches to do work with peers individually. We also facilitate meetings here. And then we just do a lot of support in the community as far as addiction recovery goes.
Oh, cool. And is that basically, is that serve the Sheboygan area? Is that statewide or?
Yes, this is, so our recovery community organization is Sheboygan, but we do partner with different organizations around the state, like Lighthouse up in Manitowoc, and we do other things with different organizations. Yeah, pretty much all around the state.
Oh, cool. And how did you get involved with or hear about Wisconsin Voices of Recovery?
So when I started working at Worko, we are, oh man, I don't know how to explain it. Well, Wisconsin Voices for Recovery is, partnered with Worko. So that's what I've heard about it. I've been doing a lot of continuing education with Wisconsin Voices. And my boss that used to work at Worko is now working with Wisconsin Voices. So, we've kind of worked side by side for the past year now.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you again for being here today. And yeah, I guess before we dive into some of the deeper stuff, I guess just tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you like to do for fun when you're not doing the good work for Worko?
Well, when I'm not working at any of my jobs, I have a family and I like to spend time with them. We go hiking or, doing anything outdoors. Like that is just what we love to do. It kind of just is like a nice little break away from everything, just being in the woods. I also like to do makeup. I was a freelance makeup artist before I went on my recovery journey. And then I picked up a little, a couple different hobbies along the way. I wrap crystals. I like painting, kind of just anything that calms my mind down when I'm not working. I love doing it.
Oh, sounds like you're a really creative person, something that I lack. Well, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so I guess one thing we could start off is I guess you could tell us a little bit about your journey through recovery and I guess what life like was before your journey started and how you eventually got there.
Okay, well, I'll start with my journey before recovery. So I spent most of my time, my using days, locked in my bedroom, and it was just a very dark place, and when I think back to in my active addiction, even when I was outside of my bedroom, everything just seemed so dark, like even on the most sunny days. And it was like a fog that I couldn't necessarily walk out of. I struggle with mental health issues as well. So mental health and addiction just does not work well together. And it was, I don't necessarily want to get too much into it, but it definitely was the darkest moments of my life. And I struggled trying to get clean for the longest time. For me personally, I found it just so difficult to find the resources necessary. And I was easy to just give up when I wasn't getting that instant gratification. So if I wasn't, sent off to treatment right away, whatever, that's it, I give up. But I think what really started my awakening was I was arrested and I had to detox in jail, and that's definitely not the most fun thing to do. So I do have to admit I did relapse after I got out and, went right back into that dark hole. But it was the first step because it made me realize that, yeah, I really do need to change. And I put in the effort at first to change, but it was more of just like white knuckling it. I would do the necessary steps like getting into IOP, but I was still hanging out with using friends. I still had all these addictive behaviors that I was not trying to let go of. And then same with the reservations too. I just felt like I wasn't necessarily ready. But reality hit and it was not pretty. I went back to jail. And, I think in that cell was like, I don't know if you're familiar with any of the 12-step programs, but the first step is admitting you have a problem. And your life has become unmanageable. And then you came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. So I remember sitting in that cell and I was just like, man, like, this is not how I want to live. I can't do this anymore. And I don't even know who I was praying to, but I was praying to somebody. And I was just like, I can't do this by myself. And the next day I got a call from Casa Claire for an interview to get into treatment there. So I took that as the answer to my prayer and I ran with it. And, when I went up to treatment, I took everything seriously. I gathered as much knowledge as I possibly could, while also giving myself a little bit of time to just breathe. I lived in such chaos for so many years. And just being able to sit in silence, and just take a second with my thoughts, as crazy as they were and, all that kind of stuff. It was just a nice breath of fresh air. It was so great. And yeah, I continued my recovery journey. I should probably backtrack a little bit, but I'm 3 years and it's clean now. So I began my journey back in July 2nd of 2018. That's my clean. And, I just put one in front of the other, made one step after the other, going from treatment to sober living, doing IOP, going to meetings. And it was just like, I liked celebrating each day after I was done, like, oh my gosh, I made it another day. Like, let's do it again. And just those little victories became, 1 day to 1 week to 1 month to 1 year and so on. So, and that's how I ended up here pretty much in a nutshell. I mean, there's so much more I could go into detail, and I will if you want me to. Pretty much it.
Well, thanks. Well, at first, I guess I wanted to say congratulations on being 3 years clean. I know and you talked about having certain milestones. Any sort of milestone you hit, I think is a big achievement. So congratulations on that. Yeah. I think just setting those little goals for yourself is such a big thing because especially when you're struggling so much and may seem like there's no end in sight, achieving those little goals a bit each at a time is a really powerful thing sometimes. So I guess my next question would be, and you're welcome to go in as much detail as you'd like. Just what are some things you found to be the most helpful and some things you have found to be not so helpful, things that might have potentially derailed your recovery journey?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I do believe like I got a lot of support when I made the choice to get clean and stay clean. My family really, really helped a lot. I mean, they were there with me through the whole thing. They came and visited me. My fiance was a huge support too. As far as social connections, like meetings and the fellowship and stuff, those were a huge, huge help. Because for the I want to say like first year of my recovery, I spent isolating, like especially after I got out of sober living. I was just terrified to even like talk to anybody because I didn't want the temptation. I also I like didn't feel safe around other people either, because if I was craving or if I was just having like an emotionally like imbalanced day, I just didn't want to be a burden, I guess. So yeah, I spent a lot of time isolating, and then I came across a really great group up here in Sheboygan. I started going to Heroin Anonymous, and I met a lot of really amazing people who I spent like every day with during the summer. And it was just, I think that was like that tipping point where I started feeling safe, to be out and to do things with people that understood me, but we're also on the same level where, we could go out and go to the beach and have fun. But then on a bad day, like we could talk about it with each other, which is absolutely amazing. As far as like classes and stuff, like all my IOP classes were fantastic. Like I said, when I went to treatment, I took everything really serious. So I tried to absorb as much knowledge as I possibly could. And, going through things like REBT and, like those things, those exercises that you do where you think about your thoughts before you act impulsively, like that helped me a lot because, for me, I wouldn't even think about it. Like all of my actions was based on emotions. So, there's not much thinking going on there. So to be able to stop and think about things really, really helped. And it still helps me today too, like not necessarily like thinking about relapse or anything, thinking about, just impulsive actions. It's really helped me stay out of trouble for these past couple of years. I would have to say the things that really didn't help much, and I know this goes for everybody too, but for me personally, when I first got out of jail, everybody was like trying to tell me what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing, and really kind of like almost like babysitting, I want to say, and or not babysitting, but like babying, like and it was just like, okay, no, I know what I need to do. Like I'm a pretty intelligent individual. I just don't know where to start. So like all you got to do, you just give me a starting point and I'm good. But that and negative criticism and stuff like that, like it really was not the best for me. I mean, I did get through it, and everything like that, but I think the other thing too, and this is probably like the biggest obstacle that I faced, and it still is today, was having to love from a distance, because I'm the type of person that even when I was using, when I wasn't using, when I was in active recovery, I always wanted to help somebody or, multiple somebodies. And, there was a lot of times where I was putting myself in situations that weren't the best for my well-being. Luckily, most of those situations I got out okay. Mentally, I definitely had to process a lot more in order to stay clean. But it was definitely hard, like having to say goodbye to friends that you actually care about and, that you've gone through things with and stuff, and knowing that you're not on the same level as them. Not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but just on a different level or a different path of recovery. That was definitely very difficult to do. It took me, man, like probably up till today to really be able to set those boundaries and just be like, I love you. I'm here for you. Like, I'll help you, find the resources that you need. But I cannot be involved in your life to the point where I'm sacrificing my well-being. So that definitely was very difficult for me.
Yeah, that does sound really difficult because from what I've gathered so far is it does sound like you really do care a lot about other people, and seems like sometimes it can be hard. It feels like you want to put them first, but it sounds like it seems from what you said is sometimes you have to think about yourself and what's best for you before you can help other people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I think the biggest personal struggle too was letting go of the guilt and the shame, because all of us as addicts, we do carry a lot of guilt and shame for the things that we do or the things that we could have done but didn't. But yeah, I definitely have taken these past couple of years to really, really work through that and heal, especially with my kids too. Like I love my kids so much. They're probably the biggest reason why I stay clean, besides for myself, obviously. But having to work through that guilt and shame and having to work with them, because they are younger but old enough to understand, like, hey, this is what mom went through. Now she's better and now she's here to take care of us. But I never intended harm on either one of them. And it's sometimes I just sit back and think, like, man, like, how could I have done that? But then I have to bring myself back to the present and be like, we're here now. As long as we remain open with our communication and keep moving forward, everything will be okay. And my kids they have been so amazing through this whole thing. Like they are even excited to like go to the meetings with me too. They're like, oh my gosh, it's Wednesday, it's time for a meeting. And it's to have them like be involved where we can actually like, other and they see that I'm serious about getting my life together.
I think that's really cool, that you've been able to talk openly with, at a age appropriate level with your kids about everything, and that they're just so excited to experience this stuff with you and be part of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess another question I had is, I know you mentioned you had a lot of family support along with a lot of support from people you met in the recovery program themselves. Did you feel like one type of support was ever better than the other? I know it's all support is, awesome, and you'd love to get as much as you can, but do you feel like you connected more maybe with people who are experiencing the same thing you went through, or?
Yes, definitely. I know there's like, say my family support and my social support are two totally different types of connections. Like my family's been there through everything my whole entire life. And obviously there's some things I can't really talk to them about. Not that they wouldn't understand, just that it's just something that a fellow addict would understand a little bit more. But there's other things where my family support knows a little bit more about me so that they can understand that side, whereas my addict friend support wouldn't necessarily understand. I wouldn't say that one is more supportive than the other, but there's just two different sides of the spectrum, I would have to say. But I do also have to say that I've never had such deep connections with having friendships in recovery, because, you walk into the meeting and you're just bearing your soul, like they see the good, bad, and ugly right away. And yet they can still ask you to go out for coffee the next day. And you're like, whoa, you still like me after what I said? That's crazy. But I think it really, really brings out that genuine love and care that friendships should have. So I'm very, very grateful for all of the friends that I've in recovery. It's been such an amazing journey with them.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you've been able to find, it sounds like essentially a second family along with your friends in recovery, and because sounds like those are some really deep bonds that you formed and deep friendships.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So my next question, I think, would be, I guess, I know you mentioned your story already. I guess how has your life been different than you'd imagined it had been, like maybe 5-10 years ago? How has like your outlook on life changed since going through recovery?
Wow. So yeah, I definitely did not expect to be here. That is for sure. But I couldn't be more grateful that I was here. I remember I had my whole life on track before I started my addiction. It was a I wouldn't say it was necessarily a short-lived addiction, but it wasn't it was probably like a 5-year addiction, and before then I had my whole life mapped out. I was going to be this amazing freelance makeup artist. And then I was working with a music group. So I was going to be like a roadie with them and do all types of marketing and promotion. I was going to school for business management. So I thought that I was going to be working. I already had a job lined up over at Acuity here in Sheboygan. So like I had like this whole map that I was following. And then addiction came in and was like, nope, that's not happening. So, when I got clean, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know who I even was. And well, me and my fiance, we got clean together. So the both of us were just like, well, what do we do now? And all I could think about was, what do we do today? Like, that's it. I didn't have any thought in my mind of what we were going to. So sitting here today and saying that I'm a recovery coach and that I facilitate multiple meetings throughout the county and, working my way up to be peer support, like it's just, I never thought I would be here, but I have never felt so right in my life. Like this is where I belong. Like this is exactly where I am supposed to be. And so I'm very grateful that I did end up having to go through my addiction, because then I wouldn't be here. I would still be living this life that I thought I wanted to do. And now I do makeup as a hobby. I just kind of do it when I have the time, and I'm okay with that. I never finished school either, and I'm totally okay with that because I think I've been in training more than I've been like in actual college. So, and it's just, I can't say anything else except for how grateful I am to be here. And I'm hoping, my plan is to, after I get my certification in peer support, eventually I would like to go to school for AODA counseling and then become a counselor. I haven't thought that far afterwards. I just kind of want to see where life takes me. But as far as like my perspective and how I look at life now, addiction has definitely been a humbling experience. Going through early recovery, definitely a humbling experience. But I am my true authentic self now. Whereas before I just wanted to be what everybody wanted me to be, I guess, or what I thought everybody wanted me to be. So I wasn't really happy. I mean, I wasn't sad. I just wasn't really truly happy. Whereas today, I'm grateful for every single day that I wake up. I look forward to doing all the stuff I do during the day, even if it is chaos or just laying in bed watching movies. But going through this 12-step program, when you look at your character defects and you bring those up to the light and you work through them, like it's such an amazing experience. It's scary, but it's definitely amazing. And it's definitely really given me a whole different perspective on myself and then how I am like towards other people. So I don't want to say that I'm like the best version that I could be, but I'm definitely a better person today than I was yesterday. And I strive to be a better person tomorrow than I was today. So I'm here living life, man.
Well, that all sounds amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that with me. Isn't it funny how the past life takes us down sometimes? You can be completely different, like you mentioned, from what you envisioned at one day, but it seems like it always winds up working out for the better in some way or another. And it sounds like that's been the case for you because you feel like your true self right now, like you mentioned, and it's really cool to hear. The last question I kind of had written down was, is there any wisdom you'd like to share with anyone who hasn't found their path to recovery yet?
Oh man. That's a hard one. There's definitely a lot I could say, but
Mhm.
never give up. That's one of the biggest things. Don't ever give up. If one thing doesn't work, just, keep moving and don't ever give up, and, keep coming back. Because even if a 12-step program doesn't work for you, try smart recovery, or, go to IOP, or talk to a therapist, or whatever your pathway is. That's up to you to decide it. There's not one way to recover. There's tons of different avenues. You just got to find what works for you. Um, and also, you are definitely not alone. I know that being in addiction and early recovery is scary and it feels lonely, but it is not. It is, you are not alone. There's hundreds of us out there reaching our hands out, reaching for you. Just got to reach out. Talk to your local recovery community organization. Definitely. I know there's some all around the state. Reach out online. There's tons of meetings online, or tons of resources out there. Just reach out, ask for help. You are not alone, and you are always worthy of recovery.
Those are some really good words of wisdom there. Thank you for sharing. So I guess I thought of one last question. So the Wisconsin Voices Rally for Recovery theme this year is, I think it's every person, every place, every community in terms of who addiction affects, because a lot of people don't realize how it's in every community, and it can affect every family, every person, no matter who you are. Um, is there some people you met along your recovery journey that you would have never have envisioned would have been struggling with addiction as well?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, there's so many people that I have worked with as a recovery coach, or, even met in active addiction. And I'm like, how, why are you here? Like, you don't belong with us. Like, I never would have pictured some certain people to be where they are. And yeah, that definitely proves that addiction does not discriminate at all. Like, it does not matter where you're from, who you are, what your status is. It affects everybody, because there's such a huge scale of, or so many different aspects of addiction. You have your biological, your hereditary side, you have the environmental side, and you have, your mental issues, or whatever it may be. There's so many aspects, so you cannot possibly just put it in a small little section of like, oh, these people are addicts for sure. Like, this is addiction right here. These people cannot be touched. No, it affects everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's, so often overlooked, is if people don't see it, they don't think it's as big of a problem as it really is. And I'm glad there's community organizations like Worko and Wisconsin Voices that are really pillars of the community for people struggling, who they can reach out and go to for help.
Mhm.
Well, that's all I had for you this afternoon. Is there any last words of wisdom you wanted to share? I know
um,
that's such a loaded
oh
question.
man, it is a very loaded question. Um, I would have to say one thing that really helps me get through cravings and triggers. No matter what, always get it out of your head. Just speak it where you are. When I am going through a hard time, or if I'm triggered or craving or just not in a good headspace, I let it be known right away. Whoever is around me, I'll tell them like, hey, I'm craving really bad. I don't know why, but I need to get it out of my head so I feel safe. And it usually works every time. And if it doesn't, I, go a step further and reach out or find a meeting or something. But don't sit with your thoughts. Let it out, if at all possible. Just let it out.
That sounds like some really good advice. Thank you. Um, Well, I know you have a 24-hour event coming up here for Worko. Is that correct? You want
Yes, it's actually happening right
to
now.
want to give a quick shout out for that, and then I'll let you get to that.
Yes, definitely. So it is 24 hours of recovery. Recovery never sleeps. We have a different speaker every hour. It's already going on. Anybody can tune in on Facebook Live on Worko Sheboygan's Facebook page. And then tonight at 7 p.m., we have Brandon Novak coming to speak. I'm so excited because like all of my age range, like we grew up with Jackass and CKY, and like, you know, it's going to be so cool to see somebody that, you know, we grew up with being on the other side of things, just like how we are. So I'm really excited to hear his experience, strength, and hope that he's going to be sharing with us tonight. But yeah, we do 24 hours every single year. It's such an amazing event. Just hearing everybody's stories and seeing all of us at Worko just really, really connect over this. It's amazing. I love it.
Well, that's really awesome. I mean, I think that's really such a powerful experience to have someone like you mentioned, who you grew up with, that's coming to speak with you. I think that just speaks large volumes that it can affect anyone, no matter who you are, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Thanks for sharing your story, Katie. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure whoever watches this video will really appreciate listening to your journey and all your many words of wisdom that and advice you had to share.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that, you know, we got to connect and everything. This is really awesome. And I really hope that I get to maybe work with you in the future. This is such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, I would look forward to it. And I look forward to seeing your career grow with Worko and all the good work that it sounds like you have ahead of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you take care. Have fun at your 24-hour event here, and hope everything goes well with it.